Hey everyone, it's Kai from Cool Collectibles back again for another review. This time it's the Hot Toys MMS524 Commander Cody. And this did release about 2 or 3 months ago in Hong Kong. But as always, Australian retailers have taken quite a while to get their stock in from Sideshow. So Pop Culture here in Australia have finally got their stock in. Apparently it's sold out everywhere in Australia. So if you didn't pre-order, you might find it a little bit tricky to get it from Australian retailers. But I think Sideshow and other Asian retailers shouldn't be too much of a problem. The box art, I'll just quickly go through the box art and so on. The box art, nice picture of the figure there. The likeness I think is pretty damn good to Tamira Morrison, and I do like the action pose on the right there for the Phase 2 helmet there. Unfortunately they don't include a Phase 1 helmet. But before I go through the accessories, I'll get the box out of the way and give you guys a closer look. Hold on. Alright, accessories wise, it includes the base here that I think they've reused for quite a few troopers now. From the Sand Trooper, Snow Trooper, a few others I think, all with different sort of coloured bases, so it is getting a little bit boring. I actually would have preferred something, just a plain base or something, so you can have at least a different pose on the stand, because they have got these I guess the treads in there, which pretty much forces you to have that sort of pose just to make it look decent and look in common with the stand itself. But I guess it is nicely painted, and I guess I can't remember exactly which scene, if it's from Revenge of the Sith and so on, but I guess it's good enough for a static display in your cabinet. The head sculpt, excuse me, the head sculpt here is pretty good, as I was saying before. I think it's a massive improvement over the Sideshow version. I had pretty much all of the Commanders and Captain Rex from the Sideshow series. I didn't get any of their regular troopers, but I did have Cody and the rest of the Commanders. I sold them about 3 years ago now, I think, to a local collector who was getting into all the clones. So I don't have the head sculpt back then for a side-by-side comparison, but it is pretty much night and day. This is, of course, probably about at least 7 or 8 years since then. So Hot Toys have come a long way in themselves, let alone in comparison to Sideshow. So you get all the usual skin detail, that 5 o'clock shadow, that glassiness in the eyes. I love the subtle scar there, and the hair, and just the detailing of the hair. No one does that sort of detailed sculpting and paint app that Hot Toys does in hair, particularly with this sort of fine short hair. Some of the other, I think, companies would have made that look very clay-like, but I think Hot Toys here have done a pretty fantastic job. So I'll definitely be using that in my pose. Also comes with his backpack. I'm not quite sure what the point of this backpack is in the movie or the TV series, to be honest. I can't remember why it's different from the others, or he doesn't have a jetpack. I don't even know if that's actually a single jetpack or not, but it just clips on magnetically to the back. I'm not quite sure if the Sideshow one did that magnetically as well. I can't even remember, to be honest. But it does look fairly nice with that weathering on it. The light up hand looks pretty good. They do have a warning that this is not adjustable, which I guess is understandable with that LED and all the electronics in there. The battery cover is a pain to get off, and I'm not even going to bother trying to do it again. I think there's a subtle seam in there somewhere, but you pretty much put the little figures in. They've got a little peg there, so this is the Yoda. And I just realised I am going to have to take this off to access the power button. Now I'm not quite sure exactly where it is, and I think I'm going to snap something on camera, so I'm just going to turn it off and take it off for you. Hold on. Alright, that was more painful to take off than I thought it was going to be, but once you do take the cover off, which is just there's a couple of clips on one side, you can turn it on. And once I do that, you see the light there. It is pretty subtle. I'll try and turn off one of the cameras here, and I just put that in there. Just be gentle with that peg so you don't snap something off, and it lights up pretty well. with these translucent little hologram things. So they give you one for Yoda, one for Palpatine. So you really do need to get it in there to get the light piping through. They give you one for Obi-Wan, which looks pretty good. And they also give one which is another trooper in his regiment, I guess. I don't know what number that is, but I'm sure there's plenty of Clone Wars fans that know all of those details. But that's pretty much the arm. I have heard that it is a pain to get the arm swapped out, and it does become loose, so I'm just going to have to watch out for that. So I haven't tried taking the arm off that comes out of the box. That seems pretty tight, but we'll see what happens when I do my final pose for the display. Comes with the long rifle, and again, I don't have the original Sideshows to compare, but pretty much if it's going by some of the other Hot Toys and Sideshow figures that are the same, Hot Toys paint application and detailing is usually better. I think one thing that Hot Toys did screw up with their blaster here, this stock piece is meant to come back and be able to swing past the handle here and then be used as the stock, but for some reason they've made it so you can't even swing it past this point, which sort of defeats the purpose of having this be adjustable. So a bit of a screw up there on their part, but overall I think they've improved it in every other regard from the original Sideshow version. I think Sideshow was either originally involved in the armor or the weapons or something along those lines with the Sideshow figures. I do remember a Hot Toys logo on those Sideshow figure boxes, so they must have been involved in some way. But here are the smaller pistols, which look quite nice. One thing Hot Toys didn't do is give as many hands or swap out parts. The Sideshow figures had two action sort of posy bent feet, where the Hot Toys figure doesn't have any of that, and their range of hands is certainly not as extensive as the Sideshow range, but they are pretty nicely molded and painted. So you get the pointing hand, two gun holding hands on either side, another left pointing hand with one finger, and a thumbs up. I can't remember where he used that in the movie, but I haven't watched Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith for ages now. But the figure was so good, I just couldn't resist getting it to go with the Episode 2. I thought, oh no, actually that's Episode 3 Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker figures that I've got. And they'll probably be the only prequel figures I'll have, except for the upcoming Captain Rex, and hopefully that'll be it for me on the clone front. But I'll get Commander Cody up here and give you guys a closer look. So here is a closer look at Commander Cody, and I have to say overall it does look pretty damn good. I think the weathering is just the right level of subtleness and accuracy. I do remember the Sideshow versions being a little bit cleaner, to be honest. I thought they would be dirtier, but the feet might have been dirtier, particularly the action type feet. But the rest of the armor I remember being quite clean. And I think Hot Toys have made that balance a little bit better. Just the rear here, he does stand pretty well on his own. And as I say that, it can't, but there you go. The Sideshow figures were a little bit looser in the body, and the armor pieces certainly felt a little bit looser. But I'll touch on that a bit more in a second. But there's a look from the rear, and there's the magnetic part that you pretty much just lock the backpack on there. So luckily they've got this sort of foaming, so there's no sort of scratching or anything like that on the armor. Now I can't actually remember if these bicep pieces are meant to be facing that way or the other way with that on the front or the back. I'll have to go back and look at some photos of my original figures, but they're all sort of movable, all of these pieces. I can't remember if the Sideshow figure was actually had the shoulder pieces attached to the chest piece, whereas Hot Toys here have the little strap, the fabric strap under the armpits there. But pretty much all the other pieces look very similar. One thing that I remember from the sideshow is that these thigh pieces were attached on the inside via some Velcro. Now they don't feel like they're attached anywhere underneath for these ones, but I feel that it's hard to rotate and articulate the body underneath as opposed to just rotating these armor pieces, which is a bit of a shame. I'd rather have the body just a little bit looser so you can get that rotation going. So I feel that the thighs are really tight and I can't rotate the underlying articulation. The fat suit underneath, the fabric suit here, it's really thick and it feels like it's hindering the articulation quite a bit. So I don't know if people have tried to take off all the armor and adjust the fat suit or remove it or anything like that. But the material itself feels quite sturdy. It's I guess it's a little bit similar to the sideshow one, although the sideshow version seemed to be a bit more fluffy. It seemed to get a bit of lint on it, whereas this one doesn't seem to feel like it's going to be susceptible to that, which is probably a good thing. Otherwise, I think the only other difference I can remember from the undersuit, I remember with the sideshow figure, they had like a little neck scarf or something like that. So if you took the helmet off and then used the head sculpt, you had another piece that you had to sort of put underneath it. And I don't think the Hot Toys one uses that. And I'm not even sure why they even bothered doing that for the sideshow. I guess it might have been for accuracy sake. But I guess for this one, they didn't even bother. What else can I go through before articulation? I guess the helmet here, you do need to be very careful with these two pieces. So this shoulder piece and I guess this earpiece thing here, two separate pieces that you need to plug in. This one was pretty easy. This one was a little bit more difficult getting it aligned in the groove and trying to push it in. But once it's in, there's no risk of that falling out, which is a good thing. Now this piece is metal, which will hopefully make it a bit more sturdy, but this piece here is definitely plastic, so be careful how you put your hands when you're moving it around. And this piece here looks okay, but hopefully that doesn't break off. And I guess this piece is like on a little bit of a rubber connection, so I guess there's a lower risk of that breaking off, but I guess be careful that you don't stress the sort of soft rubber there and have it break off anyway. Other than that, I can't remember too many differences, and I don't have a side-by-side with the old helmet. But I guess it is a shame they did not include a Phase 1 to swap out for those that like that sort of style. But I would always use the Phase 2 anyway, and for my display I'll probably have it with the head sculpt and him holding the helmet. From articulation perspective, the head was pretty tight before, but there's just a ball joint there, so you might just have to finagle that around to turn it and get the angles. It is pretty tight actually, but it looks pretty good from pretty much all angles. So just be careful how you articulate that. With the arms, I guess with these armor pieces here, you can adjust them as they're coming up. But apart from that, I think that's pretty much as high as I'll be able to get mine without getting into the dangerous zone of snapping that off. They do come with double jointed elbows with the Hot Toys body, but these armor pieces, especially that elbow piece, will always hinder the articulation on these troopers, just like they did on the sideshow figure. The joints do feel pretty tight, so just go easy on that. Similar with the sideshow figure, this torso section is, I guess, again, because the body is so tight, I feel like I'm really just moving the armor and not the underlying body. So just be careful there. Although I did hear a few clicks there. With the arms, I'm not sure if they're on, it feels like they're on fairly loose range ratchets. So it should hold poses fairly well. And with the legs here, the suit here is going to hinder the articulation, plus the fat suit bunching up along the hips here, which this crotch piece here looks quite a lot smaller than I remember it being. If it was just a little bit larger and looser, you might get a bit more range of motion. but I guess getting him into action poses, that'll probably be as far as I'd want to be stretching it anyway. And coming up forward, you're really depending on how far you can rotate this piece at the front here. With the knees, again, similar to the elbows, they are on a double joint, so one up here and one down here, and that will hinder the articulation, but you can get it bent quite far. Well, that's probably as far as I can get mine, about 90 degrees. And with the ankles here, I find the back of the armor here really hurts the articulation. I can't get it because of this piece at the ankle here. I can't really get too much rocking apart from up, and then down doesn't go very far. So you won't have him in sort of any natural jumping poses from what I can see. But at least you can get a little bit of ankle rocking. So at least it sort of looks semi-flat on the ground. So really you might need to futz around a lot with this particular figure to get that looking good in some action poses. But that is pretty much it. I'm not going to be doing anything too crazy with mine. It's pretty much just going to be standing there with the one of the holograms. I'll probably pick Palpatine, to be honest, for that Order 66 scene, and then him holding the helmet. So I'll swap out the head sculpt and take some photos for the Facebook page. So hopefully you can head over there after this and check out some of the photos I'll post up in the next day or so. But that's pretty much it for my thoughts on this Commander Cody. If you're a Clones fan, it's definitely an upgrade from the previous Sideshow figure. So definitely get your hands on it if you're a Clone Wars fan or a Revenge of the Sith fan. But that's pretty much it. Until next time, I do have a few more things coming from Big Bad Toy Store. Hopefully in the next week. It's taken ages to get my pile of loot from the US with their shipping over there at the moment. But hopefully that comes within the week, and then I'll have a few more reviews coming up. So hopefully you can subscribe and stay tuned for then. And until then, thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.